Good morning, everybody on Twitch, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Isn't this fantastic? It's another Friday already, and this is Growing Bolder Now. I'm Bill Schaefer, and we're glad to have you with us. We're really excited about this program. And Mark Middleton's going to be here in just a minute, and that's fantastic. And he's going to have a guest that really is going to blow your mind. A fascinating interview coming up with, he really is one of the most provocative, interesting, and brilliant minds alive in the world today. Somebody who will make you think about things like, who are we? How did we get here? Where are we headed? What does the future hold for us? Are there alternate universes? Yes, coming up, Mark Middleton will step in and take the reins for what promises to be one wild ride that is guaranteed to push our brains to the limit and to think in ways that expands us as people, expands our world and our souls. Yes, he is going to speak one-on-one with the one and only Michio Kaku. You got to stick around for that. That's coming up in just a minute. In fact, if you've got any friends who are interested in everything that we're all interested, have them pop on here so they can check this out. So how was your week? I hope it went all right. It sure went by fast. You got to love the 4-day work week. It was a great week in the world of Growing Bolder, and we'll get to that in a second. I wanted to say hi to Patricia Bishop, who is here as she is all the time. Man, it is so nice to be able to start a stream and see regulars pop in, people who kind of come check us out and get attached to the message. I mean, this is your show. It's about your lives. It's about all of us, stepping forward together, because we are indeed all in this together, and we want our lives to be the most it can be. Who doesn't want to try to make things a little more fulfilling, a little better, to make a difference in the lives of others at the same time. So, Patricia, it's great to see you here, as it is always. So we were talking about what a great week this has been in the world of Growing Bolder. First of all, we're excited about this. The new edition of Growing Bolder magazine is out. And this is the online version only that we're talking about now. We call the online version the Growing Bolder Digital Digest, and it is awesome. Take a look at the cover. It's filled with really awesome exclusive photography. We take this really seriously. If you're going to look at this, we want this to be beautiful. That's Ed Rosenthal on the cover, decked out in his full scuba gear. He's one of the most interesting and inspiring people around. And man, where do people like this come from? Wait till you read about what he's doing to help protect our ocean. These are people that aren't in the media anywhere else. They're just not getting the attention they deserve. And it's not that we're shining the light on them. We do that so it inspires us to realize that wherever we are in life, whatever our situation is, there are ways to do exciting things. We call it ordinary people living extraordinary lives. We've all got the potential for that, and you will love that. And the many other articles, and best of all, it is available for free. Just go to the URL, growingbolder.com/insider. You sign up there, no charge, no cost. And on top of that, there's lots of other perks as well, including the Growing Bolder Magazine Digital Digest. So do check it out. Looking over some of the other comments coming in, Joey Antrim's here, really excited about the topic. Good to see you, Joey. Glad to have you here with us. Where are you guys watching from? Maybe that's a good way to start getting to see who's here, by dropping in the comments where you are right now, because digital streaming, man, it allows us to go everywhere. Things that used to be local or regional are now national and even global. So Patricia Bishop telling a pretty serious story there. They have had rain all week and the power's gone off, and she was afraid she wasn't going to be able to see us this morning. Yeah, we had kind of a hurricane move up through the coast, right? From the Gulf and head on up to New England way already. It moved really quick, and it did bring a lot of rain with us. So we're always grateful for everything that we do have, right? For power, for electricity, for social media, for the internet, good and bad. Boy, we live in some amazing times. Joey's really excited about the topic. As I said, Ali Fazell is in Texas. Christy Hume is in Bloomington, Illinois. And it's great. It's great to see the reach. It's great to see how we all connect from everywhere because we think alike. You know, we all have this philosophy that life should be all we can make it. It's not a, what do they say? It's not a dress rehearsal. It's not a dry run. We only get one crack at it. We kind of have to learn as we go. So why not learn from the experiences of each other? We're all the same, right? We're all trying to do the best we can. We all want to be the best we can. And when we surround ourselves with people who are amazing, you know, interesting, awesome, as opposed to the well-meaning naysayers, the ones that go, oh, that'd be great, but what can one person do to make a difference? Or, oh, that sure would be great, but aren't you a little old for that? Or, boy, isn't that a little out of your league? There's no such thing, folks. We can do anything. We can do anything we want. We don't ever even sit down to have that conversation about what do we want? Who are we? Do you plan? Are you planners? You got to be able to do that, right? You got to treat yourself like you would a business at your work. What are your goals? What are your dreams? How are you going to accomplish those? And amazing things can happen when you live a life of intent instead of just getting on that conveyor belt, just kind of walking through, and all of a sudden you go, oh, wow, how'd I get here? Live a life of intent. Kathy Ambler is here from Rhode Island. Kathy, I was just up there a couple weeks ago. Oh my God, is it beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. We were up by Rocky Point and Warwick and Bristol. So many, 4th of July in Bristol is just amazing. So many great places of this country to check out. And isn't it great that we can hit the road again too? Melinda Sparks is here. Melinda's amazing. She always wanted to play tackle football, and everybody told her, women don't do that. Well, guess what? Women do that. They've got a fantastic league. The Orlando Anarchy is a great team in there. And Melinda was playing tackle football at the age of 50. She's past that now, still at it. And she is one of the coolest, most inspiring people you could meet because she's living her dream. She's doing what she wanted, and that's contagious for us all. Jesse Jolly is here from Bay City, Michigan. And Yolanda Reza is here from Phoenix, Arizona, where it is 113 degrees. Well, it's kind of getting hot in here too, because we have a new television show. It's called What's Next? And it's kind of like Pardon the Interruption meets TMZ. We bring up a variety of topics, some short videos, and then our panel of growing bolder personalities offer their takes, insights, and impressions. It's excellent. There's some great conversations, unexpected moments that are all centered around what's next in our lives. And you can watch it in Central Florida tomorrow on WESH TV, and it's airing all across the state of Florida. And all you have to do to find it, if you don't live in Florida, or if you're not sure where it is in your town, go to growingbolder.com/what's-next. See it on the screen there. Not only will you see a full broadcast schedule and bios on all of our hosts, at this link, you'll also be able to watch the very first episode of What's Next in its entirety. You'll love the field. You'll love the topics and the conversation on What's Next. That's growingbolder.com/what's-next. Give it a look. Christine Margos is here from Austin, Texas. Rainy in the Texas area today. Patricia, that's where your power went. I hope, do you have that back? Did it come back already? I hope so, or the hamster's got to ride the wheel pretty hard for you to be on the internet. And the Art of Human Connection is here all the time, and it's great to see Thea Daniels here as well, too. She's in Santa Rosa, California. So we've got a good portion of the country checking in today. And for people that aren't really familiar with Growing Bolder, there are some new things, too. The Growing Bolder app is out. It's a streaming app. You got to see what we did. I mean, this is beautiful. It's a remarkable way for you to check out great shows, videos, interviews, and more that are available on Growing Bolder. And it's kind of a Netflix-style presentation. And again, Growing Bolder is offering this for free. And you can see what it looks like by going to growingbolder.com/TV. Check it out. Learn more about it. I'm telling you, it is slick and it is very cool. See what's new on Growing Bolder at growingbolder.com/TV. So lots of really cool things going on in the Growing Bolder world. Excuse me just a second. Oh man, that's good. Do you love your morning coffee? I do too. And to be honest with you, so much better in a Growing Bolder mug. Oh man, it's great. Hey, you see what's under the screen there? Did you know you can have one of these for your very own? You can, what does it say? You can get a mug like Bill's. They're not talking about my face, okay? They're talking about this and other Growing Boulder swag in the Growing Boulder shop. We've got, take a look at that. Look, here's a look at what it looks like. We've got unbelievable t-shirts. They're very cool. They make great gifts too. There's hats. Got a lot of stuff in there. Take a look and show everybody that you're not getting older. You're growing bolder. That's at growingboulder.com/shop. All right, now for the big interview. And this is really the kind of thing that we're all here for, right? A one-on-one, in-depth interview with the people out there who are making a difference, lighting the way, making us think, and leading us to live better, more meaningful lives than we ever thought possible. Where do you get that besides Growing Bolder? And this week, this one in particular, I said it before, it will blow your mind. Be sure to let us know what you're thinking along the side in the comment box alongside. But for right now, buckle up and let's turn it over to none other than Growing Bolder's main man, my friend Mark Middleton.
Well, we all know there is one thing we've all been fascinated by since we were very young and looked up to the sky: the mysteries of the expanding universe. How can something be infinite? The Big Bang, 13 billion years ago. Wormholes, black holes, time travel, a multiverse, alien civilizations, dark matter, and more. And of course, these are also the questions that have consumed many of the greatest minds in history, which is why I'm extremely excited to talk to one of those great minds right now. And what makes this guy unique is that he's able to talk to us in a way that's both captivating and understandable. He's a renowned theoretical physicist. He's a futurist. He's one of the world's greatest scientific communicators. You've seen this guy all over network television, and you have certainly heard about, if not read, many of his New York Times bestsellers. His latest may in fact be his greatest. It's called The God Equation, The Quest for a Theory of Everything. So let's welcome Dr. Michio Kaku. Dr. Kaku, how are you doing today?
Very good. Well, after such a great introduction, I can't wait to hear the speaker myself.
You know what? We really appreciate your time. This is quite an honor for us. So if you will, take us back to the beginning, and not the beginning of the universe. We're going to get there in a minute, but the beginning of your fascination with what really are life's biggest mysteries.
Well, it all started when I was 8 years old. Something happened which completely changed my life. The newspaper said that a great scientist had just died, and they put a picture of his desk on the evening news. On that picture was a book, an open book, and the caption said, "The greatest mind of our time could not finish this book." Well, I was fascinated. I had to know what was in that book. What could be so hard that the great scientist could not finish it? So I went to the library, and I found out this man's name was Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
And that book was to be the theory of everything, an equation perhaps no more than 1 inch long, the God equation, an equation that would allow us to, quote, read the mind of God. Well, I was hooked. I wanted to become a physicist to try to finish that book. And when I was in high school, by the way, I even built a particle accelerator. I assembled 400 pounds of transformer steel, and I built a 2.3 million electron volt Betatron particle accelerator in my mom's garage. Every time I plugged it in, I would blow out every single circuit breaker in the house. And my poor mom would say, "Why couldn't I have a son who plays basketball? Maybe if I buy him a baseball. And for God's sake, why can't you find a nice Japanese girlfriend?" Well, because I built these things, I went to the National Science Fair in Albuquerque, and I met one of the creators of the atomic bomb, Edward Teller. And he graciously offered me a scholarship to Harvard. And that began my career as a physicist. After graduating from Harvard, he offered me a job. Edward Teller, father of the hydrogen bomb, offered me a job to go to Los Alamos, Livermore, or MIT to design hydrogen warheads. Well, I very respectfully declined that very generous offer because I wanted to work on something even bigger, an even bigger explosion, and that is the creation of the universe itself. Genesis, because that's what the God equation is all about. The God equation triggered the Big Bang and has been elucidating the evolution of the universe ever since. That's what I do for a living.
Wow. And you discovered it at 8 years old, at least the passion. So let's go back to the Big Bang, because I've read many different things. Is it a consensus now among physicists like yourself that the Big Bang occurred about 13.8 billion years ago? Do I have that right?
Well, the consensus is that 13.8 billion years ago, there was a cosmic explosion out of which the galaxies, the stars, planets, you and me came out of. Where we disagree is the fact that Einstein says the universe is a bubble of some sort. The bubble is expanding. That's the Big Bang theory. But where we physicists disagree is whether or not there are other bubbles out there. And when these bubbles collide, that's the Big Bang. In other words, we have a theory of the Big Bang itself, that perhaps the Big Bang was created by a bubble bath of universes bumping into each other or splitting apart, creating a theory called the multiverse, that our universe may not be the only one. There could be other universes out there. And of course, at this point, many people email me and say, Professor, if there are other universes out there, is Elvis Presley still alive in another parallel universe? Well, believe it or not, you can't rule it out. The King could still be belting out hits, perhaps, in a parallel universe. Not our universe, however. Sorry about that.
So, do you really think, Dr. Kaku, that there could be such a thing as a God equation, a simple equation that answers everything? And you just said that it could be this short. When I think of a God equation, I have a vision of the whiteboard in Good Will Hunting, where, it's one line after another. Could it really be reduced to something that short and that profound?
Well, we think so. Today we have something called the theory of almost everything. It's called the Standard Model. One line is Einstein's equation, which, by the way, is 1 inch long. All of Einstein's theory can be summarized in an equation 1 inch long. Now, the quantum theory, however, is messy. Our present understanding is incomplete. It's a horrible equation. It's about a foot long, and it has 21 free parameters, 3 generations of particles, 36 quarks and antiquarks. It's a mess. However, it does fit on one sheet of paper, and we want to get it down to 1 inch. You know the equation E equals mc squared? Even school children know that equation. That equation unlocked the secret of the stars. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that the secret of the stars could be summarized in an equation 1 inch long? Well, Einstein wanted to do even better than that. He wanted to summarize the universe in an equation just 1 inch long. And today we have such a theory. The theory is called string theory, and I'm one of the pioneers in this subject. And the string theory says that basically the music of subatomic particles is the missing paradigm, the paradigm that eluded Einstein for the last 30 years of his life.
I have so many questions. Are there rules in the universe that would limit the size of living beings? I know to some extent gravity determines the size of living beings on any planet. So is it inconceivable to think that there are huge giant beings somewhere, or are we limited in size?
Well, there's something called exobiology, and believe it or not, we scientists, physicists, biologists, talk about planets out there that have stronger gravity, less gravitational field, have a day that is much shorter, a day that is much longer. You realize that we have discovered 4,000 planets orbiting other stars in the galaxy in our own backyard. And we can even do a census of the Milky Way galaxy. On average, out of 100 billion stars, every single one has a planet going around it. And about 20% of them have Earth-like planets. So your question about biology and gravity on another planet is definitely a possibility. We find planets called super Earths that are bigger than the Earth, but they're rocky. They are rocky planets. They have a solid surface, not gaseous. And yes, we think that life could exist on a planet with stronger gravity or even less gravity. And remember, there could be billions of Earth-like planets in our own backyard. That is absolutely staggering to think about that.
It is mind-blowing. And folks, we are speaking with renowned theoretical physicist, Dr. Michio Kaku. And Doctor, if you can stick around for a few more minutes, I've got a bunch of other questions. But I don't know if people need me to tell them this. They can ascertain this by listening to you. You graduated summa cum laude, #1 in your physics class at Harvard. You've got a PhD from Cal Berkeley. You've lectured at Princeton. You're a professor in New York City. You've written textbooks on everything from string theory to quantum field mechanics, things that are well beyond the understanding of most of us, myself included. But yet you seem to take your greatest pleasure in spending time coming back for the rest of us, trying to make it understandable to all of us. What compels you to try to translate these big ideas for the rest of us? Why is that important?
Well, I write two kinds of books. One set of books that I write is PhD textbooks that are used around the world for graduate students, for PhD students getting their doctorate in theoretical physics. But I still remember the frustration I felt as a child going to the library, looking up things like the fourth dimension, antimatter, parallel universes, wormholes, and finding nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just science fiction novels with buzzwords like antimatter and warp drive. I wanted to know the real thing. And so I said to myself, when I grow up and I become a theoretical physicist, I want to at least write books for myself. As a child, being so frustrated, realizing that in the library there was nothing that could explain these fantastic concepts. You see, when I was 8 years old, not only was Einstein one of my role models, but on Saturday mornings, I used to watch Flash Gordon on TV, and I was also hooked. Spaceships, invisibility shields, cities in the sky. These are all the things that George Lucas stole into what is called the Star Wars saga. Flash Gordon has basically been reincarnated as Luke Skywalker. And so I wanted to address those kids that are so frustrated. They hear these buzzwords, but nobody is there to explain these buzzwords to them. Is it all fiction, or is there some fact behind the fourth dimension, wormholes, warp drive? And that's one reason why I write my books.
You've been compared to Carl Sagan in your ability to share with the rest of us and teach all of us about some complex things. Let me ask you about the Webb Space Telescope, because this thing has been, the launch has been delayed for many, many years, now scheduled for later this year. Will they launch it, and how significant is that? How far might we see, and what could we see?
Well, the Hubble Space Telescope has been the workhorse. It really opened up a whole new dimension for physicists. Instead of speculating about neutron stars and pulsars, instead of speculating about these things, we can actually analyze them with data. Now, the Hubble Space Telescope is getting old. We need a replacement for it called the Webb. The Webb telescope is so accurate that it can actually photograph other planets going around other stars. This is amazing. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that we would have a space telescope so powerful that it could actually take a snapshot of a planet circulating around another star in another solar system? And so we think that the Webb Space Telescope, just like the Hubble Space Telescope, will open up a whole new dimension for astronomy. For example, right now, we're just at the beginning of being able to photograph a black hole. Think about that. This was considered science fiction when I was a grad student, but now we can actually photograph in the radio range a black hole in the galaxy M87. And so whole new worlds are opening up. And with that, new physics will also open up, physics that we think will be explained by string theory, which is what I do for a living. That's my day job.
You mentioned black holes, you mentioned wormholes. Do wormholes exist? And if so, are they like what has been presented in science fiction movies? Is it an opportunity for alien beings perhaps now and maybe humans in the future to actually move from one part of the universe to another faster even than the speed of light?
Well, a lot of physicists, friends of mine, who, when you talk to them about flying saucers and UFOs, you hear the giggle factor. They start to giggle, their eyes roll up in the heavens, and they say that the stars are so far away that aliens cannot reach us. But you see, they're making a fatal mistake. That assumes that the aliens are only maybe 100 years more advanced than us, in which case, yeah, they can't reach us. But let's say they are 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years more advanced. Then there's possibilities that they could use something called wormholes in order to go across thousands of light years in the galaxy. Now, you've seen a wormhole ever since you were a child. Think of Alice's looking glass. The looking glass of Alice is a wormhole, a gateway between two universes, Oxford on one hand and Wonderland on the other. Not surprisingly, Alice in Wonderland was written by a mathematician, Oxford mathematician that went by the pseudonym Lewis Carroll. His real name was Charles Dodgson, by the way. He couldn't write a children's book as a professor of mathematics, so he wrote it as a children's book. But the looking glass is the wormhole, a gateway, a tunnel, a subway system that allows you to go faster than the speed of light, consistent with Einstein's theory. You know, the great cosmologist Stephen Hawking looked into it and said, well, yeah, it looks as if you have enough energy, a wormhole might be possible. Now, a time machine, he has some doubts about, but he thought a wormhole machine through space was possibly within the realm of physics.
We are talking with Dr. Michio Kaku about the things we all wake up in the middle of the night contemplating throughout our lives. And a couple of questions that don't really have anything to do with physics, but since I've got you here and you're a big thinker, MLK said that the arc of the moral universe is long and it bends toward justice. What about the arc of science? Is science neutral? Or will it ultimately destroy the planet or perhaps save the planet? Because I know you noted earlier in this conversation that you walked away from an offer to actually get involved in the development of nuclear weapons. It certainly has the potential to do either. What do you think it's going to do?
Well, I tend to disagree with most other physicists on this question. Most physicists would say that science is neutral, like a double-edged sword. One side can cut against ignorance, poverty, disease. The other side can cut against you and me and innocent people. But I tend to disagree because, you see, the internet spreads information. With information comes empowerment. People act on this information. And with this more empowerment, communication lines are set up and democracy is propelled. So I think that democracy is one of the outcomes of the internet. And I think, therefore, there is a moral direction that empowerment, because information becomes freely available, is given to everybody. You know, when I was a kid, we learned something called dictator for life. If you were a pawn of the Soviet Union or a pawn of the United States, you were a dictator for life. They couldn't get rid of you. Now, of course, dictators get thrown out all the time once the people get energized. Once the people get the internet, learn how to organize, learn that they don't have to live under poverty and subjugation and repression, and they change the government. And so I think that history does have a direction. With the outflow of information coming from the internet, we are empowering people to control their own destiny. And so I think that's one of the great benefits of modern science. Not to mention the fact, of course, that there are problems of global warming, nuclear proliferation, and pandemics. But I think overall, information is creating a better world with the internet.
I cannot tell you, Dr. Kaku, how much I want to believe that. It seems like the truth is now something that's debatable. And really what you just said is a perfect segue to my next question. I truly don't necessarily like to talk about politics, but politics and science have somehow become connected these days. As you mentioned, we're battling a public health crisis. Science says that vaccinations are safe and critical to beating COVID, and yet 30% of our population refuses to get vaccinated. You mentioned the catastrophic impact of global warming. Everywhere it's accelerating. Many people think it's a hoax. As a scientist, how frustrated are you by science deniers?
Well, to be honest about it, we scientists have to take some blame for this. You see, after World War II, scientists were put on a pedestal. We were the ones who helped to win World War II. We created the bomb. We created radar. We created the weapons that allow us to destroy Nazism. And so we were sort of like gods after World War II. But then, unfortunately, we scientists oversold some of this technology. We told people that nuclear power was totally safe, too cheap to meter. It would be for free. And then 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, and Fukushima happened. And with the Vietnam War, we saw the military go berserk with Agent Orange and carpet bombing and things like that. And so we scientists oversold some of the technologies that we were promoting, and people became skeptical as a consequence. Now, the way to cure the fact that there are incorrect ideas out there is to not shun the internet, but to engage in the internet. Where does truth and righteousness come from? It comes from struggle with incorrect ideas. And the fact that there are incorrect ideas out there about the virus, well, that's to be expected. We're human after all. But it's up to scientists now to jump into the game, not sit in our ivory tower, and begin to engage the people. Let me give you an example. We physicists wanted to build a gigantic particle accelerator in Texas called the Super Collider. But, it was getting expensive. And at the last day of hearing, one congressman said, quote, "If we find God with your machine, I will vote for it." Well, the poor physicist was asked, what are we going to find with the Super Collider? And he said, we're going to find the Higgs boson. Well, all the jaws hit the floor in Congress. $10 billion for another goddamn subatomic particle. The vote was taken and our machine was canceled. Now, since then, we have struggled with the idea. How should we have answered that question? Will we find God with your machine? If so, I will vote for it. I would have answered it differently. I would have said God, by whatever signs or symbols you ascribe to the deity. This machine, the Super Collider, will take us as close as humanly possible to his greatest creation, Genesis. This is a Genesis machine. It'll take us as close as humanly possible to the greatest event in the history of the universe, its birth. Unfortunately, we said Higgs boson, and our machine was canceled. So the lesson is, we scientists have to learn how to engage the public. We just can't poo-poo the public and say, shame on you. No, we have to jump in and defeat incorrect ideas, because that's where correct ideas come from struggle with incorrect ideas.
And fortunately, unfortunately, there are a lack of scientists like you, at least that I know about, that are able to, articulate what you just did in the way that you just did. So we need more of you. A personal question now, if I may. I'm going to go off script with this one because I know that both of your parents, Dr. Kaku, were born in the United States. Both were held in internment camps during World War II. You are as American as anyone. What is your reaction to the Asian American hate that we have seen in this past year?
Well, first of all, hate sometimes follows something concrete like a pandemic, like an economic crisis. It's no accident that during war times or times of economic stress or a mass emergency, people lash out. people lash out at the nearest people who are weaker than them. And that's why my parents were locked up in a concentration camp for 4 years from 1942 to 1946. All their assets were confiscated, by the way. They emerged from the camps penniless, all their assets frozen or liquidated or confiscated by the government. But their attitude was, well, you pick up the pieces, you make sure that it doesn't happen again, but you don't come out with a chip on your shoulder and say, ha, shame on you. No, you try to engage people, increase the dialogue rather than poo-pooing other people or shaming other people. No, we have to engage people, talk to them to make them understand that, hey, we're human, we make mistakes, but we can rise above it. And that's why we should not have a chip on our shoulder. And so my parents did not hold a grudge. They said, let's make sure it doesn't happen again. And let's make sure that we're out there. We're out there in the public arena so that ideas, correct ideas will emerge. And remember, this happens every time there's an economic crisis, every time there's a political crisis, people will lash out. This is human nature. It's up to us to counteract it.
Sometimes I wonder about human nature. In your field, many scientists ultimately become atheists. Others become deeply spiritual. What about you? Do you think there is some intelligent divine force at work in the universe?
Well, Einstein was asked this question many times, and he said that he did not believe in a personal God, a God that gives you that bicycle for Christmas, a God that smites the Philistines, the God that grants you all the wishes that you've ever wanted. No, he believed in the God of Spinoza, that is the God of beauty, harmony, simplicity, and order. The universe is gorgeous. It didn't have to be that way. The universe could have been messy, chaotic, random. But no, here we are contemplating all these ideas. And so he said, no, there's the God of beauty, order, and simplicity. And he compared himself to a child entering a library, a huge library for the first time with all the books of knowledge. And all he could do was open the first book and read the first chapter. And no, Galileo was also asked that question, even though he was put on trial. And Galileo said that the purpose of science is to find out how the heavens go. The purpose of religion is to determine how to go to heaven. So in other words, religion is about ethics, about how to be a good person, how to be generous to other people. That's religion. But science is about natural law. It's about how the heavens go. And as long as we keep these two separate, said Galileo, they complement each other. There's no problem at all. The problem occurs when somebody from the sciences pontificates about ethics, or when someone who's religious begins to pontificate about natural law. That's when we get into trouble.
But somewhere at the intersection of those two different things becomes a philosophy of life. And as a very intelligent guy who has spent a lot of time thinking about big things, what is the meaning of life? How should we be spending our time? What is a life well lived? Because when you realize that it's been 14 billion years that this universe has existed, we think, I'm not sure what was before that. Our lives aren't that long. So what should we be doing? Does it make a difference?
I think it makes a difference. And I personally believe that it's too easy for us to wait for a guru from the mountaintop to come down from the heavens and say, this is the meaning of life. No, I believe you have to struggle to attain meaning. In other words, we create our own meaning. It's the struggle. It's the struggle to find meaning for ourselves. That is the meaning of life. Not to be given it to us. No, the meaning of life has no meaning if it's simply given to us. That defeats the whole purpose. The whole purpose is to struggle. The whole purpose is the struggle to find that meaning for you. And so I think that everybody, in some sense, has a destiny. We're all given certain abilities, and we're given certain avenues by which we can fulfill ourselves. So it's too easy to simply have it handed down. We have to work for it. So the purpose of life is the struggle to find that meaning of life.
So I guess not about the destination, more about the journey. And I think that's a great place to leave it. He is Dr. Michio Kaku. His latest book, in a string of New York Times bestsellers, is The God Equation, The Quest for a Theory of Everything. Pick it up, check it out. It is a fascinating read. Dr. Kaku, we thank you so much for your time and all that you're doing.
And how great is it to get the chance to hear from, not just Mark, who brings such a great perspective into all this, kind of the growing bolder philosophy, but Michio Kaku. There's his book, The God Equation. And to be able to have conversations really is the key to us moving forward. And you kind of got an idea there, because Mark didn't shy away from difficult topics. But when you approach them wanting to understand, not like loading up so you can go ahead and throw your own thought or philosophy in there, but actually listening to hear what this brilliant, well thought scientist, what his perspective is, and kind of figure out how it fits in with ours. That's where the best things come from. We had really interesting things that he said. With information comes empowerment, and democracy is propelled. Information is so important. Democracy is one of the outcomes of the internet. So, sometimes all we think of the internet is of trolls and things like that, but there's so much good there. And we got great comments from all of you out there, especially Jesse Jolly in here with empowerment is why we need to keep our history present in our lives. And all these things make good sense. And being able to hear the opinions of people all across the country. We read before where everybody is. Growing Bolder is giving you the chance to make new acquaintances, make new friends, hear a new dialogue, step a little bit out of your comfort zone, open your minds, and that's where the magic happens. Great comments throughout the whole thing from Ali Fazell. Always thought that if there is a God, they set down laws of the universe and set it all in motion, and is now hands off. Is that what you think? Agree or disagree? It's a great, interesting point, and it's a mirror. We're holding up a mirror to reflect the thoughts of Michio Kaku off of us. What does make sense? He talked about the role of religion versus science. It's fascinating. We don't stop often enough to think of why things are the way they are. What are the benefits and the drawbacks of both, and how do we maximize the effect of both to pull us all forward and to get us to a higher level? That's where we all want to go. Sometimes we think of in binary terms. There's a yes or no, agree or disagree with everything, and that's not necessarily the case. I think 99% of us want to be great people. We want to be good people. We want to be thought of as the ones who get it and the ones who can help us move forward as people and as a society. And we kind of get caught up in the rhetoric and the name calling and disagreeing or agreeing, when really we're all after the same thing. And if we could learn to listen like Mark did, like all of you who are watching this did, to these really interesting and well thought out and intelligent points of view, it's compelling to us all. And also, don't you think too that maybe there aren't more scientists, and maybe there aren't more people like that, because in school, was it exciting? Did you ever have a teacher like Michio Kaku? Probably not. He's not forcing you to memorize formulas and things. He's igniting curiosity. He's getting us all to think. And anybody who can, we've got information. You could find out formulas. You can look for facts. We've got them in our pockets, in our phone. We can look them up by asking Google, whatever. But very few people can make you curious, can make you say, well, wait a minute, what do I think of what he said? Does that make sense? Do I align with that philosophy? Or can I look a different direction, and can I find things to advance it or not? And I just think that's, that's kind of what we try to do at Growing Bolder, is provide a forum for all of us to like be excited, be interested. We talk about some difficult things, but in a way that's empowering. And that's where the magic and the spark of a life well lived comes from. And we couldn't be happier for all of the people that are here watching us each and every week, and for all of the comments that keep coming in over these very interesting conversations on a wide variety of topics. So please share this. I mean, this is what the internet's for. This is what social media is about. We're finding a tribe here. You all have found a community. You all have found a place where discourse is safe, where respect lives, where we're all trying to, as individuals, be better people, as individuals to, help others along the way, and therefore either change what people think of a demographic. As you get older, you do not diminish in value. You have wisdom, you have experience, you have opportunities like never before. But it isn't just about age. It's about wherever you are in life. What are you doing the right thing? Are you in a job that's okay, that's fulfilling? Are there things that you could do when you're not at work that help you feel like you're reaching your potential, like you're taking advantage of this gift of life? Great stuff. Keep the conversation going, and do stick with us. We will promise to keep this going as much as we can. As always, very grateful to have you with us. And we want to remind you, the party never ends at growingbolder.com. This is what it's like. So come grab a drink, sit on our couch, and let's chew the fat about the things that matter in life. And, whatever you're up to this weekend, try to make a difference in somebody else's life, because I think we all agree that that's growing bolder. I'm Bill Schaefer, and we'll see you next time.